and welcome. Let's dive into today's headlines. Sheikh Hasina secures fifth term in Bangladesh. Aid group says over 10 Gaza kids lose legs daily. Donald Trump says civil war negotiation visible. A Boeing 737 MAX 9 grounded. Alaska emergency disrupts travel. And woman in her 90s rescued 5 days post Japan quake. On election matters, Sheikh Hasina has won her fifth term as Bangladeshi Prime Minister in an election whose outcome was decided the moment its plan was announced in early November when the major opposition boycotted the poll. The surprise was who came second. Sunday's one-sided election was just a mere formality to put Hasina back in power again, analysts say, shunned by the Bangladesh National Party BNP, the OWL's main political opponents, which wanted the balloting held under a neutral entity instead of Hasina's administration. The only suspense they added was voter turnout after Western governments put pressure on Hasina's government to guarantee a free, fair and participatory poll. After polling closed at 4 p.m. on Sunday, the Election Commission EC said turnout was 40%, but many were doubtful it was even that high. Abdullah Yusuf, an engineer in the Damondi area of the capital, said, according to report, that I don't know about the rest of the country, but I think I have not seen such an empty Dhaka in years. It felt like the initial COVID days. I crossed 2 polling centers midday and didn't see many people besides Awami League activists who were wearing badges. EC's claim of 40% is quite absurd. Meanwhile, some analysts pointed to confusion at the EC announcement. It's hard to believe the turnout was 40%, especially given the fact that the Chief Election Commissioner himself uttered 28% first while briefing the media and then changed it to 40% all of a sudden, said Sakawat Hussain, a former election commissioner. The turnout figure, which was shown on the dashboard at the EC headquarters hours after the briefing, was 28%, and a photo of it was widely circulated in the country's social media and received criticism. According to reports, the figures were checked and verified. On Israel-Gaza war, a charity said on Sunday that over 10 children on average have lost one or both of their legs every day in Gaza since October 7th, with several amputations performed without anesthesia, underscoring the dire humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave following over 3 months of Israeli bombardment. The suffering of children in this conflict is unimaginable, and even more so because it is unnecessary and completely avoidable, Jason Lee, Save the Children's director for the occupied Palestinian territory, said in a statement citing United Nations statistics. The killing and maiming of children is condemned as a grave violation against children, and perpetrators must be held to account, he said. Save the Children referenced comments from UNICEF spokesperson James Elder, who after returning from Gaza said on December 19th that around 1,000 children had lost one or both of their legs since October 7th when Hamas launched its attack on Israel and the war broke out. The charity also cited a World Health Organization whose statement in which the agency said numerous of these operations on children were conducted without anesthesia given the extreme shortages in medical supplies and basic goods in Gaza. Lee said he has seen doctors and nurses completely overwhelmed when children are brought in with a blast. The impact of seeing children in that much pain and not having the equipment, medicines to treat them or alleviate pain is too much for even experienced professionals. He said, children are closely 7 times more likely to die from blast wounds than adults as they are more vulnerable and sensitive to injuries, according to the charity. The Israel Defense Forces IDF has continually said it's not aiming civilians and that Hamas uses civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, as shields for its attacks on Israel. At least 22,835 Palestinians have been killed and 58,416 others wounded in Gaza since October 7th, the Hamas-run Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza said on Sunday. Nearly 90% of Gaza's over 2 million population has been forcibly displaced due to Israel's wars on Hamas, according to the United Nations Relief and Work Agency. Now, on Saturday, ex-President Donald Trump suggested the civil war could have been avoided through negotiation, arguing that the fight to end slavery in the U.S. was ultimately needless and that Abraham Lincoln should have done more to avoid bloodshed. Trump said at a campaign event in Newton, Iowa, so many mistakes were made. See, there was something I think could have been negotiated, to be honest with you. I think you could have negotiated that. The former president's comments come a little over a week before the first in the nation caucuses in Iowa, where he has a major lead in the election over his closest rivals, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. The Civil War has emerged as unlikely talking points on the GOP main track. Over a week before Trump's comments, Haley answered a question about the cause of the Civil War without mentioning slavery, the driving force behind the war. She has since backtracked, repeatedly saying she thought the fact went without saying. Trump's remarks were not made in reaction or reference to Haley's. After describing the injury soldiers sustained on the battlefield, Trump said, "There's nothing nice about it," adding that the war was a tough one for our country. He also suggested that Lincoln would not have the same historical stature if he negotiated it. Liz Cheney, GOP former rep, slammed Trump's take on social media, asking how Republicans who have endorsed the former president can possibly defend this. Modern Republicans traditionally point to Lincoln as a hero, a Republican hero for his role in preserving the Union when the South sought to leave the fold rather than end slavery. Some airlines have experienced interruptions this weekend after an Alaska Airlines flight was forced to make an emergency landing on Friday when a panel and window blew out of the Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft. The episode has led to a federal probe, and a number of airlines have grounded portions of their fleets for safety concerns. With snow pounding parts of Northeast and more on the way, weather-connected setbacks could also exacerbate air travel holdups. The Federal Aviation Administration on Saturday ordered airlines to ground many of the Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes for inspection. The FAA said its directive will affect 171 planes around the world. Even though some of the affected airlines' fleets include hundreds of planes, provisional flight interruptions can still put strain on travelers as operators scramble to fill scheduling holes. Rescheduling depends on a variety of factors. Airlines with larger fleets will generally have an easier time shuffling aircraft around to meet customer demand. Airlines with smaller fleets and airlines relying more heavily on the impacted planes could find it more difficult. Location can also play a role. Airports capable of supporting a larger number of aircraft are more likely to have spare planes to replace the grounded ones. Alaska Airlines temporarily grounded its MAX 9 fleet and said it was examining the plug doors on all its jets. The plug door refers to a portion of the plane's fuselage the manufacturer can put in place instead of an emergency exit door. The airline said it has cancelled 160 flights as of Saturday evening, affecting almost 23,000 guests. While it is working with affected customers, the airline estimated the disruption will last through at least midweek. United Airlines on Sunday said 180 of its 265 scheduled flights were cancelled, but that it managed to save 85 flights by switching to different aircraft. United has 79 MAX 9 aircraft in its fleet, and all of them are being expected to comply with the FAA. The company said in a statement, "We are working with customers to re-accommodate them on other flights." Still on the news on natural disaster, an elderly woman in her 90s has been found from under the rubble of a two-story house over 5 days after a powerful earthquake hit Japan. On Saturday evening, 124 hours after the quake struck, rescuers found the woman in Suzu City in Ishikawa Prefecture and took her to a nearby hospital, according to report. A doctor said, according to reports on Sunday, that the woman is well enough to have conversations, but her legs are wounded. Kume Takanori, a member of the emergency rescue team, said the woman's knees had been hit on the furniture within a very narrow space between the first and second floor. It took hours to free her, he said. On January 1st, the 7.5 magnitude earthquake that pounded central Japan prompted tsunami alerts as far away as eastern Russia. Thousands living in coastal areas were forced to evacuate their homes as buildings and roads collapsed. Numerous structures also burned down. According to the newest figures shared by Japanese authorities on Saturday, the death toll from the disaster is at least 126. In the event of a natural disaster, the first 72 hours are absolutely critical for search and rescue efforts. Experts call this the golden period for finding survivors, as the conditions of people stuck and wounded can deteriorate quickly afterward. It has been a race against time for teams on the ground to save people trapped under the rubble. The full extent of the damage is still unknown, but over 200 people remain unaccounted for, Japanese officials say. Search and rescue operations are continuing in Ishikawa. Reports said several roads are still blocked, posing difficulties for emergency personnel and vehicles to reach survivors. Addressing this in a statement, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said traffic restrictions will be implemented around the earthquake zone from Sunday. Traffic will be barred from entering the affected areas to allow for disaster recovery related vehicles to pass freely. On more stories, Maldives suspends 3 for insulting India's Prime Minister Modi. The government of the Maldives has suspended 3 deputy ministers after they made offensive remarks about India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on social media. A senior government official said, according to reports on Sunday, that Malshah Sharif, Mariam Shuna and Abdullah Muzum Majid, who all work for the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Information and Arts, were disciplined for their comments against Modi on social media. The 3 had diversely described Modi as a clown, terrorist and puppet of Israel on social media in reaction to the video of prompting terrorism in Lakshadweep, in an India Union territory in the Arabian Sea. Some viewed Modi's visit in the Maldives as trying to draw tourists away from the internationally popular Maldives, whose 1,192 islands in the Indian Ocean are dotted with luxury resorts. The Indian High Commission in the Maldives raised the issue with the Maldives government, according to reports from India. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, in a statement on Sunday, acknowledged it was aware of derogatory remarks on social media platforms against foreign leaders and high-ranking individuals. These opinions are personal and do not represent the views of the government of Maldives, the statement said. Ex-Maldives President Ibrahim Mohammed Soli condemned the use of hateful language against India. A senior administration official said, according to report, that the country's President Mohamed Muizzu ordered an investigation. The official said Muizzu is worried about consequences since Indians are the largest group of foreign visitors to the Maldives, where tourism accounts for almost 1/3 of their economy. On sports in Africa, Ethiopia's Kitima wins Dubai Marathon debut record. On Sunday, Ethiopia's Tigist Kitima broke the world record for fastest marathon debut with victory in the women's race in Dubai. The 25-year-old Kitima won the Dubai Marathon in 2 hours, 16 minutes and 07 seconds in her first ever race at the distance. Her time was the 8th fastest by a woman in marathon history, smashing the Dubai coast record by 1 minute and 1 second. The former women's record was held by Ethiopia's Letesenbet Gidi, who won the Valencia Marathon in 2 hours, 16 minutes and 49 seconds in her debut at the distance on December 14th, 2022. Kitima was the African Under-20 Championships winner at 800 meters before she moved to marathon. Adisu Gobina won the men's title in 2 hours, 05 minutes and 01 seconds to give Ethiopia a sweep of both the men's and women's elite race. We'll be back after this short break with more compelling stories. Stay tuned to Global News on Anzumo, Nigeria. You're welcome back. Now, stories from Nigeria says Tinubu probes Edo's ministry for alleged infractions. President Bola Tinubu yesterday, in a very strong message to the ministries, departments and agencies, retorted to increasing public outcry over the controversial memo by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, fouling financial regulations, and ordered a thorough and comprehensive investigation of the allegations. Tinubu promised to unravel the truth of the matter and see that appropriate action was taken, saying any found breaches will be punished decisively. Edu was alleged to have recently directed the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to pay a whopping sum of 585.18 million naira to a private account owned by one Oniyelu Bridget. The ministry claimed Bridget presently serves as the project accountant, grants for vulnerable groups in Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Lagos, and Ogun states. But Dr. Oluwatoyin Maiden, the Accountant General of the Federation, refuted Edu's directive and did not pay the set sum of 585.18 million naira to the agent of the minister. In addition to this infraction of extant public financial rules, the minister was also said to have approved air tickets for trips to Kogi State, including airport taxi, when the state has no known or functional airports, an allegation that had since been exposed, with the approval memo now flying about on the social media. It was for this reason that the President has appointed the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Wale Edun, to head a panel to probe the suspected fraud in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. But as more and more Nigerians continue to demand the sack and prosecution of Edu, People's Democratic Party (PDP) said the alleged looting of 44 billion naira National Social Investment Program Agency NSIPA fund, including the 585.2 million naira allegedly diverted by the minister to a private account, were only a small part of the corruption in the present government. Femi Falana, former human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria's son, told Edu to stop insulting the sensibilities of Nigerians. Likewise, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) urged Tinubu to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi's son, and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to quickly and thoroughly investigate the alleged payment to vulnerable people in Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Lagos, and Ogun State into a private account. Now, fresh 30 billion naira projected for National Assembly renovation. In the 2024 appropriation bill, lawmakers have allocated an additional 30 billion naira for the renovation of the National Assembly complex. The 30 billion naira reserved for the renovation of the building was part of the 344.85 billion naira budgeted for the National Assembly after they raised their allocations from 197.93 billion naira. The 344.85 billion naira signed by President Bola Tinubu on January 1st is the highest ever allocated to the legislature. The additional 30 billion naira brings to 60 billion naira the amount being spent on the renovation of the National Assembly complex. Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, who is also the President of the National Assembly, had on June 30th, 2023, declared that Tinubu will in December last year inaugurate the 30 billion naira different ongoing projects at the National Assembly. The renovation was originally built to be completed and delivered in August 2022, but the delivery date was later shifted to January 2023 and then December 2023. The renovation of the National Assembly complex is yet to be completed as of January 2024, with skeletal work ongoing on the premises. Earlier, during an oversight visit by the Senate Committee on Federal Capital Territory, the site engineer Tajuddin Olanipekun blamed fluctuations in the value of Naira to the United States dollar for the delay. This has hampered the importation of required materials and equipment, in addition to the need for more funds from the FCDA, he said. However, the head public relations Federal Capital Development Agency, Richard Undo, in June revealed that 19 billion naira had been paid to the construction company. And finally, on the news, immigration to launch online passport portal today. Dr. Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, the Minister of Interior, will today unveil the first online portal for passport application in Abuja. He revealed this during a demonstration session of the online portal on Friday with the Controller General, Nigeria Immigration Service, Caroline Adepoju. According to Tunji, an online passport application platform has been created for both international and Nigerian applicants. In December, the minister had announced that the federal government was working to ensure a full automation system of passport application in the country. At the time, the minister said the automated application system was 99% done, adding that the process will include uploading passport photos and supporting documents. He stated that Nigerian applicants who want 32-page passports with 5-year validity will pay 25,000 naira, while those who want 64-page passports with a 10-year validity will pay 70,000 naira. Foreign applicants, however, who wish to apply for passports with a 5-year validity period and 32 pages will pay $130, while those who prefer passports with a 10-year validity period and 64 pages will pay $230. Candidates must submit their applications at https://immigration.gov.ng. Dignitaries who graced the event included the chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, representative of the International Organization for Migration, Stephen Matete, country manager Development Alternatives Incorporated, Joe Abba, founder Kwandala Foundation, Tijani Musa, and the co-founder TechNext, David Afolaya. Another look at the top stories. Sheikh Hasina secures 5th term in Bangladesh. Aid group says over 10 Gaza kids lose legs daily. Donald Trump says civil war negotiation feasible. Boeing 737 MAX 9 grounded. Alaska emergency disrupts travel. And woman in her 90s rescued 5 days post-Japan quake. That wraps up the news. Thanks for staying with us. Stay informed, stay engaged. Until next time, I'm Lois Drake.